It's a process of destiny. There are times when you make a decision when you're young, and you go with that decision, and if it's right and it feels right, then it works.
Milo and his wife Tay have a farm in Costa, Rica called Finca, Fila, Marucha. Fila Marucha is over 200 acres, 30 of which was pasture when they first got here, and is where Milo dedicated his life to create analog forests and to cultivate as many forest products such as spices, essential oils, and vanilla.
Came down here as a surfer fresh out of college. I met my wife and we developed a family, so we had a family life within a farm structure. Once there is open land, then we can decide what is the correct design that we can use that will most benefit the biodiversity of the land, but also most benefit ours as a farmer. And I understand 7 words in the monkey language. I didn't understand about analog forestry until about 1992 when I met Dr. Ranil Sananayake, who was the founder of the concept of analog forestry, how we can replicate nature in our designs.
When we understand how nature creates forests, we can model that with productive species to produce food sustainably with minimum inputs, without agrochemicals, and with maximum outputs, just like Milo has shown us here with his forest garden.
Constantly have to do what we in analog forestry call a gap analysis. So if you make a gap analysis, then what happened? I don't have any fruits. What's the deal? They're all being shaded out, or so you have to make a concerted effort to replant. Every product has a certain replanting schedule, to where over a period of years, if vanilla is 3 years, cinnamon is 6 years, every 6 years you have to plant a whole new thing, to where you're always coming in on the line as far as maximum production.
I always loved, of course, biology, ecology, and there was this talk about analog forestry, and I heard about it and I went to the event. I just didn't know what it was, and I wanted to get to know the methodology, and there was Milo. And it was incredibly inspiring. I didn't understand everything at the beginning, but after hearing him explaining what he had done with this place and how it worked and how he had this amazing forest of almost 40 years, I got very, very interested. For the first time, I kind of found a link between pure biology and really being able to work with people, like combining objectives of conservation and at the same time producing food in a very sustainable or regenerative way for people too. And that was really important for me because biology doesn't necessarily teach you that, and it's obviously we need that in the world. Yeah.
So our designs can be for food security. So in other words, when we were first starting out, that process of how do you get a crop all the way into harvest and all of that, well, if you diversify your crops, then you're always going to have something come online and coming into harvest or something, whether it be from 3 months to the next 5 years, you can be constantly harvesting something. So this is nutmeg. It's the only tree in the world that has 2 distinct commercial products. One is this outer covering that is called mace. This is the nutmeg, the actual nut inside. That is the spice. The vanilla is a process that takes 4 months of processing after harvest to produce the vanilla bean that we know and to produce the extract. So from the time that I pollinate this, it's 14 months until I can actually sell it. It's important in what we're doing is that the understory of a forest can produce something. So in this case, we can do 2 or 3 understory vegetative covers, and one of which will be producing something for us. The others, such as this an Asteraceae, will produce flowers for the biodiversity. But this is for essential oils. And this is called patchouli, or patchouli, Pogostenum cabling. Well, the best way to do it is just this top, just to cut the top off. This is where the most of the oil is. It harvested once a day. One man in 4 hours can produce 15 kilos, but it takes me 3 weeks to dry this to where I can distill it in the distillery. It keeps coming back, it keeps coming out after. So there's a second note. So there's a base note, what you first breathe in, and then there's a base, then there's another note, higher note in the aroma.
Milo has set up a pretty impressive distillery for his essential oils. He even uses water from the forest. Along with his patchouli, he also produces holy basil, vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, turmeric, black pepper, citronella, and ylang-ylang.
What I like the most about Analog Forestry is how it provides you with the tools in order to understand the complexity of the forest, but in a very simple way to emulate it. Analog Forestry is actually very flexible in 2 senses for me. One is that it allows you to replicate the different levels of the forest profile, right? And there is one more way in which Analog Forestry is flexible, and is that you can design today and produce today for certain years, and then you can redesign. Let's say, for example, you have one main objective, which is producing fruit trees, right? You want to live out of that, you want to sell them, and you want to eat them. But at the same time, you want to conserve, you want to preserve nature and be able to have a mature forest at some point in the future, right? So you can plant your really big trees for conservation. They are going to grow slower, and while they are growing, you can plant your fruit trees. So these are going to grow faster and produce faster, and by the time these big trees are covering the light of the forest, you have had plenty of fruit already, right? And the same with the spices.
In the design process, to incorporate more native species and to incorporate the exotic species that we do use, we're going to be spreading out those because we're diversifying the farm into many different types of crops. So all year round we can have crops. So where the mistake was that it can be made commonly is that they're planted too close together, the same varieties.
So one of the most amazing things that Milo has accomplished here in this farm is the way he manages water. Water comes down from the mountain, and he made this system in which water comes all around this part. It fills up different small ponds where he can grow fish. So fish will provide nutrients for the soil underneath, and at the same time that will provide nutrients for the rice that he is planting in some of the other ponds. So the way he is designing with water, it's very unusual. At least for Costa Rica, I've never seen something like this. So he can already manage water in this way, slowly coming down, using the gradient in order to build up different ponds, even chinampas, in order to plant rice, produce fish, provide a good habitat for other species that won't be living in dry land.
What Milo and his family have created here at Finca Marucha is something special and envelops a lifestyle where farmers and their families can become positive members of the ecosystem. Analog Forestry is now in 20 countries and is still growing. The Milos and Amandas of the world are making a true difference.
So, after all of that, you can quote me on this, that surfers make good farmers, but farmers do not make good surfers.